This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Beyond the Harvest with Barbara Masterson. And Barbara, I love this picture that I'm looking at behind us, a wheat field, and I'm assuming that that is one of your photo- pictures that you have taken.
No, actually, it's not. It's a something that just popped up when I was creating the PowerPoint.
Oh, well, you know what? It it looks like something that you would have taken a picture of, so I love it. Perfect. So, what are we going to talk about on this first week of January 2021?
Well, I've put together 10 images of my paintings, and they are workers from 3 different farms here in the Hudson Valley. And I thought we could go through them and talk about them as you can see them on the screen.
Okay, perfect.
So this is the first one. It's called Men at Work. And this is White and Kingsley pounding tomato stakes in the ground. And as you can see, it's 2 feet wide by 4 feet tall. This happened to be in a show at the Dorsey Museum of Art, which is the State University of New York at New Paltz competition they had in 2017. And it's kind of where my talking about these paintings started, because they had, besides a reception and an opening, people, the artists that were there, that could be there, spoke about their work. And it was really my first time talking about these guys.
And you know, as I look at this painting, the gentleman up front, he almost looks like a photograph, whereas the gentleman in the back looks like he's been painted in. That's how I visualize.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's, and maybe it's because the gentleman in the back, we don't see his face, and he is overshadowed by the gentleman in the front. That could be it, but it almost looks 3-dimensional to me. And I just like, I find so many interesting things when we look at these paintings, that every time you look at it, you can probably see something a little bit different.
I should hope so. I should hope so. I know I do. Sometimes I look back at a painting I did a few years ago and go, oh, why did I ever paint that?
Well,
It looks different now.
we are our worst critics. So
We are.
absolutely beautiful.
This is the same size, 2 feet by 4 feet. And this is called Fairy Tale Eggplant. And Fairy Tale Eggplant is a little tiny miniature eggplants. They're kind of a specialty crop. So this is on a different farm, and these gentlemen are picking these little tiny eggplants, all bent over in the heat, of course, but they're well protected. They have long sleeves and hats, and the gentleman on the top has like a scarf around his head underneath his hat to protect his neck.
So did you pick the color, this lavender color, because of the eggplant story?
Oh, no, I just like that color.
Oh, okay. Because we're talking about 2 gentlemen out there, you know, working in the field. Okay. Typically, I wouldn't think they'd be wearing a pink or lavender, you know, color. And I thought maybe that was on purpose to identify the eggplant. But
That's a good thought. That's a good thought. I'm going to use that from now on.
okay, perfect.
I generally pick colors, first of all, that I'm drawn to, but also to make your eye move around the painting in the way that I want it to move. So compositionally, you know, your eye goes from one pink to another pink to the blues, to the, you know, so your eyes move around the painting.
Absolutely.
And the next one we have is Andrew, and he's harvesting in the heat again, long sleeves and thick towel around his head, but with a great big, beautiful smile on his face.
And you can almost see the perspiration even in his hands, as you look at this. And yet he's smiling. I don't know if I'd be smiling out in the heat like that.
I wouldn't either, especially with a great big towel on my head,
Right.
thick towel.
Exactly.
I've painted him a couple of times, even though I only met him 1 year. Then we have Harvest Nomad. He's harvesting peppers again in the heat, in the protective clothing, with his gear around his head. This is in a private collection.
Harvest Nomad. I like that.
Well, they seem to be, they're traveling from their countries to the United States and harvesting, and some of them migrate through from the south to the north as the crops change.
Sure.
I'm not sure about these particular gentlemen, whether they just come from their country and stay here for a period of time or if they travel. I did meet a gentleman, actually it was on this farm, that had a van, and he was transporting workers to other areas. I never know the whole story.
Sure. Well, and that makes it somewhat interesting too, because, we can create our own stories as we look at these pictures. And the more we get to understand, the migrant worker, it becomes a beautiful story. I mean, as I'm looking at this, I see the different colors that you've used, and it makes me really want to think more about this person. What are they doing? And how are they doing it? And the way he's sort of like possibly looking at you in this picture, maybe even wondering, what do you see?
Mm-hmm. Now I have a very different one. This again is large, 40 by 30.
And we have some women in it.
Yes, which is a rarity for me. First of all, a lot of the farms don't hire women because it causes problems in housing, as you can well imagine.
Sure.
And also, if I do come across some women, some of them will not let me take their photographs. And that could be religious reasons, it could be vanity, it could be they're nervous about, maybe they're not really supposed to be here, and they really don't know who I am. But this group of women were so happy, and they could be going to church, they could be going someplace for a picnic, and they're on their way to work, and they just were so colorfully dressed. I did not take a lot of liberty with color in this one. I used a lot of the actual colors.
I just can't imagine being that happy going to work, whether it be in the heat or the cold or the rain or whatever. But yet they're grateful for what they have.
It seems so. This piece happened to make it into a multinational calendar that was produced in Canada 2 years ago, which was kind of a fun competition for me. And then they sent me a bunch of calendars, and everybody got a calendar for Christmas.
Well, that was nice. Not only do they get a calendar, but they get a piece of your artwork.
Yeah.
Love that.
So I actually, the lady in the yellow and the woman that's leaning on her, I ran into these two women on another farm when they were harvesting grapes. And I happened to have the prints. I had prints made of this if I should run into these people again. And I gave them each a copy, and they just got the biggest charge out of it. I mean, they were laughing and saying, you know, who this is and who that is, and remember that day. And it was really fun.
Absolutely. In
Yeah,
fact,
I miss them.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, getting to know these individuals has to be so rewarding for you. And the fact that you share this information with us, um, it makes me want to go out and meet them and, um, encompass what all that they have to offer because they have skills that many of us don't have.
This is true. Very true. Oh, this is Vincent. This painting is in a private collection as well. This is the first painting I've done of him. To date, I have drawn or painted him 10 times. I only met him the first season, but boy, he has haunted me or has been my muse for, and I don't think I'm finished painting him or drawing him. He asked me during this first season if I would buy a book for his son, who was in Jamaica, because his son was studying law. And so he gave me the title of the book, and I called a lawyer friend of mine and I asked him about it, and he confirmed that yes, that's something a student would need. So I bought the book. It was a $75 law book, and then I didn't see Vincent for, it seemed like weeks. I'm not sure if it was weeks, but I didn't see him. And on the last day, when they were leaving on the bus to take that 3-day drive to Florida so they could fly to Jamaica, I saw him and I gave him the book, and he immediately paid me, which I really wasn't expecting. But I only saw him the first year, so that was 2015, and yet I hear from him every year. Not often, but once a year, maybe twice a year. He calls me from other farms that he's on, and we chat. So it's endearing, and I send him every time I do a painting of him. I send it to him down to Jamaica.
So his son was practicing to be an attorney. Has he completed his schooling yet, do you know?
I do not know. I do not know.
Okay. I mean, how proud dad must be that he's even, you know, going in that direction. So,
Mhm.
wow.
Maybe at some point I'll make a compilation or a PowerPoint of all the Vincent drawings and paintings,
That would be nice.
and
Absolutely.
we could take a look at them. Um, let's see. Oh my goodness, this is Terrence. He's this is in a private collection as well. Um, every time he returns, I can guarantee that he'll give me a big bear hug.
He looks like it. He looks like that big teddy bear that, happy.
It was quite unusual. We have a music venue in our town, which is fabulous. And besides being a big music venue, it has fabulous gallery space, and it's a restaurant as well.
Oh,
So
wow.
my paintings have been there. I've had a solo show there 2 or 3 times. I can't quite remember whether it's twice or 3 times. And on Sundays, they have this fabulous brunch. where, you know, there's live jazz playing and you can sit and enjoy the music, you can enjoy the paintings that are up, and you can enjoy good food. So I gathered, I think I mentioned this to you in a previous podcast, I gathered a couple of the fellows on a Sunday and I brought them to the Falcon. And the band that was playing happened to know me, and they knew who I brought in. And so we sat down and we ordered brunch. And when the band took a break, I said, you want to walk around? So we walked around the entire room. It probably seats 150 people. And as we were walking around, people realized that the men that were with me were the men in the paintings. And so they were shaking their hands and, you know, commenting on the paintings. And these guys were just, they were beaming. Well, as it happens,
yeah.
As it happens, the night before this Sunday brunch, a woman, I was down there, and a woman came over to me and she bought 3 of these large paintings, this being one of them. And so she she said to me that she would pick them up on Sunday. And I said I would, you know, be there, not realizing I would have the men with me. So she came in while we were there, and she was thrilled to meet Terrence. And she took a picture of Terrence and the painting Terrence and me, and it was very cool.
Absolutely.
It was very cool.
And you know, these migrant workers are so overlooked, and we've talked about this before. Okay. Many of us would not do this work. They come, they leave their families, they leave their country, and they do backbreaking work. And then along comes someone like yourself who sees the beauty in their humanity. And not only do you take their, you know, photographs, but you paint them, and you paint them in so many different ways as you see them. And then they find out that how much people not only love your paintings, but love the subject in your painting. And I mean, I wish I had been there to see them, because I just think that would enlighten my life. So I'm so glad that you took them there and people got to meet them.
Yes, that was fabulous. And then the owner bought our lunch, which was,
Oh, that was even nicer.
That was even nicer. Yeah. This is Peaches. This is again 2 feet by 4 feet. I have a tendency to get to a size of canvas and stick with that size until I'm tired of it. He's tall and lanky, and he's carrying these posts to be hammered in the ground to support the tomatoes that you can see sticking out of the rows behind him, or in front of him, actually.
And I hope as people are looking at this, some of the things that I'm noticing in your paintings are some of the natural things that we would see in the photograph. You know, looking at how his pants are in his boots and how his shirt is sort of raised up a little bit in the back. Not, you know, he's not perfectly, you know, aligned. Okay. He's working. He's natural. And sometimes I've seen painters, you know, take all that naturalness out of their paintings. Okay. The shirt is perfect. The pants are perfect. They're standing in such a way that they look so clean and neat. And yet he just looks like he belongs there, which he does.
He does. He does. Peaches always has a bandana on his head.
Seems a lot of them wear some sort of scarf or something. Or is
Yes.
it?
Yes. It's very protective. You know, they're protecting themselves from the sun, and some of them that are heavily clad are protecting themselves from the chemicals that are sprayed and the dust and some of the things that they pick, like if you've ever picked zucchini, the leaves and the zucchini are prickly.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah, not to a point of like a splinter, but just itchy. You know, when you pick zucchini, your arms are itchy after that.
So they live in the barracks, and they appear to be wearing a lot of clothing out in the elements. Do they have a place to wash their clothes after a day of work because they are full of dirt and dust?
There's a communal, my experience has been there's a communal laundry room. So they can all use that. And very often I see their clothes hanging on a line above their entranceway. It's like a long cement porch with units like an old fashioned motel kind of place, but surely not even up to that level. And then across the top of under the roof, they hang their clothes.
Absolutely. Wow.
This is Abraham adjusting his headgear.
Almost looks like there's an angel behind him in the sky.
Ah,
Like almost looking over him and protecting him. I like that. Maybe that's what you saw, but that's what I see.
well, that's a good thing you said that. When I painted this, I did not know his name. And after I painted it, it had some religious tones to me. And that's why I named him Abraham. And look at that. And you said something about an angel.
Wow. And we did not rehearse this. And that's what I love about looking at your art. Maybe it's because of the subject matter that leads me to see some of these things, but they're all comforting. And I wouldn't have thought of artwork of laborers to be a comforting piece of art. And yet they all, for me, are. It's almost like he's very content.
I think so. I think so. So this last one that I have is towards the end of the season, where the pumpkins are being cut and picked. And it's very treacherous walking among those pumpkins. The vines are, they can be 20 feet long, and they're all growing into one another, and so they're picking them so they can bring them to. Do you have pick your owns?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Have you ever seen a farm of pick your own where they have pumpkins laying out in a field?
Yeah, there's a place not too far from us that does that.
Well, these gentlemen are picking the pumpkins to bring them to those fields because it's too much. It's such a liability if the farmer would allow customers to come into their fields and cut the pumpkins.
Now that you say that, that's interesting because the place that I'm referring to, they have a Christmas tree farm, and they have the pumpkin fields, and the pumpkins are always where the Christmas trees are, like in between the rows. And I always wondered, like, why they were there, but now that explains it. Been brought from the field, and yeah, it probably would be very dangerous now that I think about it. Yeah,
Mhm.
interesting. So somebody's gotta do all that hard, heavy work.
That's true. That's very true. That's that's difficult. I mean, I think it's all difficult, but the pumpkins are large and they're quite heavy and they have to be handled gently and put in a truck and trucked to the farm and unloaded.
Yep, absolutely. And as I look at all 3 of these gentlemen, they're wearing boots, um, and it's possible this time of the year it could be cooler out there, for pumpkin harvesting, but I've seen them wearing boots, in summer scenes too.
Mhm.
That's gotta be sweltering for them, even though
Yes,
it's protecting them. Um, that's gotta add to all the heat that their body is generating. Um, and yet, like I've said before, we just take it for granted when we go in to the grocery store and buy the pumpkins or buy the zucchini or whatever it is. And uh, I'm learning not to take it for granted. In fact, because of you, I want people to know last week, well, the week of Christmas, it was, um, my husband and I went to what is called the West Side Market. So it's our version of a farmer's market in
Mhm.
downtown Cleveland. And they've been struggling this year because of COVID. Uh,
Yes,
and we chose that we really wanted to be there this year um, because we wanted to support them. And I have to tell people that I didn't need a lot of fruits and vegetables when I went down there because I had just come to the grocery store. But the few things that I purchased are still fresh today in my refrigerator.
mm,
And yet,
nice.
if I would have bought that same lettuce at the grocery store
Mhm.
in 4 or 5 days, it would have been, if I hadn't used it up, it would have been wilted. Um, and so there is a huge difference in buying fresh. Um, and if you have that opportunity to go to a farmer's market and support the laborers, I just encourage you to do it. And everything looks so much better from the
It
farm.
does, doesn't it?
Oh, I had wished I had like hundreds of dollars on me that day
Mhm.
because everything I looked at was mouth watering, um, and including their meats. When you looked at it, it wasn't behind cellophane. You could see fresh meat.
Mhm.
Um, and we had conversations with some of the patrons there about how they bring it all to market and
Mhm.
what was naturally fed and what is not. Um, and when they show you the two pieces of meat together, I mean, you would never want to buy anything that's processed ever again. So,
Yes.
uh, so that was exciting for us. And I was telling them about your paintings. Um, and so I gave them, the website here and I gave them your website. And I said, you got to go out, you got to look because we appreciate everything that you all do.
Wow. Well, that's a nice story. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Welcome.
And yeah, I would love to hear from people that perhaps listen to this cast and hear what their experience has been with workers.
So again, your website is up here right now. So if people want to see more of your paintings, they can go to your website.
Mhm.
Um, if they want to purchase anything, they can contact you through your website, correct?
Correct.
So we really encourage everyone to do that. Now, it's January, so I'm assuming that most of the farms um, are not really working farms right now. Or am I?
Well, there is a skeleton crew because every apple tree that you see in these acres and acres and hundreds of acres of trees, every single tree has to be trimmed, and they are trimmed in the winter.
Interesting.
So they're trudging through the snow and ice, if it's snowy and ice, and they're climbing trees and they're trimming the trees. Otherwise, the trees will not fruit the way they should.
And in New York, you guys have had a lot of snow and storms, so I'm sure it's not a very pleasant task right now.
No, last night we got about 4 inches here, which is not too bad, but I still wouldn't want to be out trimming trees in this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know, right before Christmas, I was talking to my brother who lives up in Saratoga
Mhm.
Springs, and they were in the process of getting 2 feet plus of snow,
Mhm.
and, I was thinking about all these farmers and, that may still have crops that haven't come in yet and, what happens to them then. Um, but a question for you, maybe you do know about this. I've seen this online a lot. There are farmers that sell what they call ugly fruit or ugly vegetables.
Yeah,
Are you aware of that?
I have seen it. I have seen it. Yeah.
So, I haven't tried it yet, but I have a friend who has. And she says that she swears by it because she pays a flat fee and she gets this huge box that
Mhm.
has a variety of different things in it. And she said some of it you do have to use right away. She said, but a lot of it is so fresh, even though it's considered old, it's old for the supermarket to
Mhm.
make it look pretty. So I think we should, all start considering that. That's a great way for us to save our farms and help our farmers and the workers out there.
Mhm.
The more workers we have out there, the more pretty pictures you can paint for them. So again, I'm so glad we came up with this format today that we could actually see your pictures. We may want to redo one or two of the shows in the past so that we can actually display the pictures a little more for our viewers. And we'll get together again in 2 weeks and we'll learn more about your artwork.
That sounds fabulous, and I will proceed creating these PowerPoints, and I look forward to speaking with you again, Karen. Thank you.
Wonderful. Have a great day. And again, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye now.